Hi, welcome to Jadekind Gaming. My name is Adam, and today we're going to do a bit of a flip-through and review of the Dungeons & Dragons Art and Arcana book. Tome. Massive book. 430-ish pages, something around there, of basically going over the history of Dungeons & Dragons by method of looking at the art from the game. Fantastic. And the first thing I want to do is, I noticed, is if you take, I'm sure you have a normal D&D book, they're pretty standardized size. If you put it in front, you'll notice the book is bigger just a little bit in both directions. And that little bit bigger in both directions makes this feel like a really big book. And part of that's because it is a very big book. And so it's, just put up here, and Art and Arcana, a visual history. Village of Hamlet is the little inlay here. It is beautifully printed, beautiful works of art, and I'm going to go through it hopefully semi-quickly, so I'll be skipping quite a bit. And I've looked through the art a lot. I haven't read a lot of what the actual text is, though there is, from what I've read, they have a lot of text about it. We have our contents, and they've given basically spell names to each chapter, basically going over in order, original edition, first edition, section Crash of 1983, second edition, Fall of TSR, third, 3.5, fourth, and fifth. So they break it down sort of chronologically, though some things within it, break out of the order. This poster was really interesting for me because I have the Critical Role poster that is based on this, but I did not know that it was based on something until I saw this. I was like, oh, cool. But anyways, each chapter begins. We get, original D&D. Well before my time. And we have Gary Gygax's personal copy of Chainmail, some of the inspirations, old maps, art and notes. They have notes about art. They have promotional materials that they had at the time. The first of the evolution pages, which I love these. So going from original edition, first edition, second edition, third edition, where I was, the area where I joined, fourth and fifth. One of my buddies noted that there's kind of a difference between these two, where they started looking a lot more like the worms, like from Tremors and such, after Tremors had come around. But then even noticing, these two are much more ahead. It turns more into a tube with teeth, again, for 5th edition. So sort of going back to that original idea. More maps, details, outdoor survival, old way of doing a character sheet, old dice. Same sort of evolution for the beholder. And I'm going quick because there are a lot of pages. A very ugly character record sheet. I am so grateful for the character sheets we have today being so beautiful. The way demons had been described to the artists in order for them to be drawn. Super cool. A Demogorgon. Some covers of Dragon Magazine, which are beautiful. Man, the art that they got for Dragon Magazine, considering, in my mindset, I'm like, well, it's a magazine. Those don't make money. I guess maybe they did back then, right? They had to have, because, man, with some money poured into them. Monster Manual. On to first edition. Alright. This is fantastic. Because I'm very used to this part of this piece of art. This is iconic. I've seen it all along. I didn't even realize that it had carried on to the back cover or whatever. There was more art off to the side of it. I'd never really paid attention to the details below it. So, really cool to see that art presented that way. Like I said, these are so beautifully printed. Dungeon Master's Guide. They do have little notes, because they, interviewed and talked to artists, so they have little notes of artists' favorite pieces, etc. Oh, the newspaper clipping from back with the Satanic Panic and such. Yeah. Greyhawk. Map of Greyhawk. Beautiful. Little. They have maps in here throughout, and they show the different styles that a map can be presented in. And you can kind of see during different eras, because they're presented chronologically, you get different styles for the art. Little details on miniatures, little handheld game, dungeon crawl. The Crash of 1983, and going into some of the I think they're just reprinted covers, but reprintings of the books and things. Look at this beautiful work of art, and then you can kind of tell the final version, sort of the final one versus what an earlier iteration. What do we got here? Oh, just some of the products. A record, a Viewmaster disc, candy, little cards that came with candy. Just cool. The old TV show. Dragonlance, kind of going into some of that, as we started getting settings. Oh yeah, we have Dragonlance. Oh, beautiful work of art, right? I love that. It's a fantastic cover. And just having these two, and they go over its, Legends and Lore, Unearthed Arcana, Oriental Adventure. So you have Unearthed Arcana, and then the other two here, side by side. Those were really some beautiful works of art. And Temple of Elemental Evil. We get original hand-drawn map of the Village of Hamlet versus the printed map Village of Hamlet. Which, just being able to compare those is so cool. Astral Dreadknot. I love this, and just sort of how this is the Sword Coast. You got things like Candlekeep. Candlekeep is labeled right there, and I mean, of course, like Waterdeep and etc. But just seeing the way it was drawn, and I don't know if it's picking up on camera, but you can literally see where the Scotch tape is used to hold multiple pieces of paper together, and it is such a cool look to see original bits of I'm just making a map for a world, for books or a game or whatever it may be. So cool to see sort of where that came from. Alright. More awesome art, but that's kind of this book's thing, is art is cool. Video game and inspiration bits of art, 2nd edition. And we, again, begin with the covers of the books. I don't think it goes into enough detail in it that I've noticed, but the monster manual for 2nd edition became whatever the binder thing, which I've seen a couple of my used gaming auctions have those come through, and I'm always like, that is so weird. Good idea, but not very practical. Also, beautiful work of art over here. Their mailing campaign, which of course you can find online some details about how much they followed that and such, but character sheets looking better, though, Thaco. Spelljammer. I believe we're going to get it for 5th edition. I think we're going to see it come back. I have faith in that. Mind Flayers. which I have quite a few 4th edition books, though I've played almost none of it. I love the Mind Flayer look in 4th edition. Like, just looking at the art from here, I was like, man, that looks cool. The dragon. The red dragon's appearance as it shifted. Very cool. Dark Sun. Awesome map. Like, it's the map of the City of Brass. And I'm like, I could use that map from this book for a game. Like, I could use this if I need a map for it. I mean, I could... So cool. Anyway, carry on. Let's look at the style art, because the art can have such a different style. The Fall of TSR. Printings. Sort of, this piece of art that is, goes over different settings and different parts of it. Birthright. Yes. 3rd edition. Here's where I started seeing D&D, personally, myself. And it's very cool for me seeing some of the iconic characters in this art because, like, I remember them. Like, they were in the books and such when I started playing the game. I have I think it's the 2nd D&D movie. While the movie's terrible, there's a commentary track that literally features, like, voice actors playing the parts of some of the iconic characters from D&D commenting on the adventure. It is awesome. If you've never watched and listened to that, I would highly recommend. Sort of going over the in-world design, the idea that parts of the book were drawn in the style that this would be art within the world, which is cool. And sort of the cover designs went along that path. The Orcs. Looking very different through the ages. This is just, again, featuring iconics. This is fantastic. And it's sort of, featuring different iconics of different classes going over 4 pages, because I think this was like one of the DM screens or something. Fantastic. Fantastic bit of art. Of course, the way that I remember being introduced to the different races, having each of the races, each gender, and then comparing it to what, they'd had originally when it was just, here, fewer races and one image of each. Just the style of art and how it's changed. Fantastic. Just love seeing that. Going over, they actually talk about like how the dragons for 3rd edition, how they made them so distinct from one another, where it's not just the color, but there's more distinction within them. Very cool. They say silver screen. I bet that page talks about the movie. 3.5. And again, really a point where I started playing with the books was about 3.5. Technically, I played with 3rd edition, but not with the books. That was back when I wasn't allowed to play D&D. It was evil. But I'd started playing by someone that literally knew enough of the rules memorized that we were just playing a role-playing game. Sure, it was D&D, but they never pulled out any D&D books, so as a child, I did not know. I was just at the hobby shop, joining along in an awesome game. The evolution for the Roper is wild to me, because I, of course, started in 3rd edition. And you see, in 3rd edition, it's this rock thing with tendrils. 4th edition, rock thing with tendrils. 5th edition, rock thing with tendrils. Like, that's what the Roper is to me. It's what it's always been. If you go look at anything before 3rd edition, it was like a glob. Like, and that's practically Slimer. Just very different. And I like it as a rock formation, but just the fact that it apparently didn't used to be. Interesting. Bar fight. Classic. Some awesome, Eberron art, and sort of talking about Eberron being a new world. Just a beautiful piece. There's sort of the two images as there's this group up here taking out guards as they're overlooking this procession that features whatever demons and beholders, etc. Like that's an adventure going down there. Maze, 4th edition. A little bit of shade being tossed there. Though I do gotta say, the 4th edition books look pretty. As I said, I have quite a few of them. I've gotten, I think, all of them after 5th edition has either come out or at least been released. Some of the races that were either new or newly mainstream as of 4th edition. A couple of them carried on over to be core races for 5th, of course. I really appreciate the art in 5th edition. The owlbear is a brilliant example of... You know what? The owlbear in 5th edition, I like. It's the first time I've ever used an owlbear in adventure has been during 5th edition, and I looked at the art and I was like, that's cool. Any of the previous editions, I'm like, whatever. So appreciative of the art we got. I have those. Very cool. Sort of the look back that they finally did during this time. Talking about some use of it, the game shown in TV shows and such. Some of the Dungeons and Dragons games that aren't Dungeons and Dragons. And then Wish, 5th edition. Alright. Beautiful, beautiful. I mean, I look at it all the time, but technically because the book is bigger, this image is slightly bigger, so it's slightly... And it doesn't have the text over top, so you really get to take a look at it. Some of these are beautiful to have. And a lot of this is art that I'm like, yeah, that's in the books that I currently use. But, man, this book is just printed so pretty. I promise you, you're not quite getting the extent of it just through my little video. You've gotta check it out. Some of the monster design, because they had such cool monster design. Looking at the Sword Coast now. I mean, beautiful. Beautiful. Some maps. Wonderful, wonderful maps. And fantastic art. And of course, they've had it several times through here. Just a lineup of dice. Those, of course, being the ones from the starter set. Also notice the beautiful potion shelf. We got Tiamat. You have tabletop and other places, and we get to full circle the Critical Role poster, which I actually have a poster of in my gaming room here. Xanathar, some Dwarven Forge terrain, just sort of looking at how beautiful the game can be literally at the table. Man, I wish I had that kind of money. From here to eternity. Obviously it's not over. And then just a breakdown with 3 books going all the way back. Just beautiful page. And then texty bits, acknowledgements, authors, index, etc. Fantastic. It is a beautiful and heavy tome. It's such a big book. I'll link where you can find it. I definitely... If you just care, oh yeah, the game's fun, and that's all it is to you, that's fine. If you care about the history of the game, if it's gotten to my word, this game is so much fun for me, I care about why things are the way that they are, and that has gotten you to delve into the history of the game, this is a beautiful way to look through that history. And just looking at how the art has evolved over time, because frankly, it wasn't that good in the beginning. I mean, it was just enough to get people's minds going. But you start looking at, some of the art that was there in, the the Dungeon and the Dragon magazines, and you're like, oh man, things are picking up. We're getting real artists making this fantasy art, and it just starts looking so pretty. And there's a lot of that in there. A lot of beautiful art. So yeah, I'll link below if you want to check it out for yourself. And thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. If you have the book and you have like a favorite piece, maybe I glossed over as I was flipping through, let me know what page so I can take a better look at it and make sure I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Bye.